All right, you came across this video because in class you're being asked to solve right triangles like this one here. And you're only given a couple pieces of information about the triangle, but you got to find some missing side lengths, some angle measures, meaning you have to have a strong understanding of your trig functions and how to use them, how to set up equations and solve them. Some of this is really easy, some a little bit trickier. So if you're struggling in your class right now and you're coming across this video because you just want a little piece of information so you can raise your hand and give something to the class, I got you there. I'll show you the easier stuff, and then we'll make our way into the more complex things that you need to find in a problem like this. So let's start with the easy method, okay? So right out the gate, they give me angle A. So they're using uppercase letters for our angle measurements, and then our side lengths, they're using lowercase letters. So we got angle A is 31.8 degrees. First thing I would recommend is mark it in there, write it down, if you have the space. I am a huge fan of plugging information into a diagram because then I go and I revert back to that diagram throughout the entirety of the problem. Okay, so I know this is 31.8 degrees, but what else do we know? We're dealing with what kind of triangles? Right triangles. So we know that this is 90. And by now we should know that all three interior angles of a triangle add up to 180. Okay, so think about that. We should be able to figure out what this angle is pretty quickly, pretty simply, right? We already have 90 out of our 180. So if we just take another 90 degrees that's left, well, we got 31.8 of it. So how much more do we have for angle B? I want you to think about that for a second real quick, okay? And you should have come up with 58.2 degrees. Now, how did we come up with that? 90 plus 31.8 plus 58.2 gives me a total of 180 degrees. All three angles in any triangle will add up to 180 degrees, our triangle sum theorem. Okay, so now that we have all three angle measures, angle 1, 2, and 3, we got all three of them. If you want to write 90, you're more than welcome to do that. I just don't think many of you need to do that by this level of math. We know the box represents 90 degrees. Okay, so how do I get B? We already found it, 58.2. We've answered a third of our question. So they wanted angle B, that's the uppercase B. So we could say that that is 58.2 degrees. And that would be an exact measurement, okay? Because these all add up to exactly 180. But now we get to the trickier side of things. So most of you, if you're struggling in class, you could probably at least give the missing third angle. You're gonna always have a 90. That we're going to give you or provide you with another angle more often than not. You can get that third angle by just using your triangle sum theorem. So boom, I got you there. Now those of you that want to go a little bit deeper and be able to find these side lengths as well, this is where our trigonometric functions come into play. So we want to look at all of our stuff, all of our information. We could go off of the angle B. So if I want to find side C, I need the hypotenuse. So let's think sine, cosine, tangent. We could use sine because remember sine, we use SOHCAHTOA, so that's our opposite over our hypotenuse. So we're going to say sine 58.2 is equivalent to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now, do we have the opposite of this angle? If we go across to the opposite side length B, they gave us the lowercase b. They said that was a 20. And I probably at the start of this problem should have changed that to a 20 right out the gate, so we had that to look at, but we're going to take 20 over the top of the hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse, 20 over C. So this angle is equivalent to 20 over C, 20 over C. Now we have an equation that we need to solve, so we're going to just go and inverse operate to get rid of some information and get C isolated. So let's multiply by C to get it over on the other side. That gives us C times sine 58.2 is equal to 20. And now to get rid of sine 58.2, because these two are being multiplied, we can just do the opposite and divide by sine 58.2. And we're going to divide the other side by sine 58.2 as well. And that will give us our C value. So go and grab a calculator at this point. You're going to type in 20 divided by sine 58.2. I'll go grab my calculator real quick and get started on that. So 20 divided by, use parentheses sign, 58.2. If you have any questions on how I plugged it in the calculator, that's what I plugged in. Notice that I put sine 58.2 in parentheses, so that has been done on the bottom and calculated out. And I'm left with 23.53. 23.53. So I'm going to say my C, is that what we're finding? Yes, we're finding C. And what did I say? 23.53 units, okay? And now A is this side right here. I'm gonna mark it now for us. So we're trying to find this side, and we could go off of 31.8. So we could do the opposite over the hypotenuse. We could use 90 and use tangent, 20 in A. That would be, or excuse me, not tangent. We could use 90 with cosine. That's gonna be our adjacent over our hypotenuse. Okay, so we have all these different values that we want to use, and we just got to decide which trigonometric function we're going to use. Okay, so take a second, think about it. If you're going to try and find A, what trigonometric function would be easy to use here? Now I'm going to go with tangent 31.8. I'm going to say, let's go down, we'll write it over here. So I'm going to use tangent 31.8. So I'm going off of this angle. Now what is tangent? SOHCAHTOA, T-O-A is TOA. That's our opposite. That gets the A involved, the missing side. And our adjacent, and I used tangent because 20 is a nice easy number. So we're using our opposite side and our adjacent side, which is an A and a 20. So we can set this tangent 31.8 is equal to the opposite A over the adjacent 20. And then all we would have to do to solve this equation, I set it up for an easy one for us. Now if we want to get A by itself on the right side of this equal sign, we just multiply by 20. And that will cancel the 20 on bottom over here. We need to multiply the other side by 20 as well. And then just plug this into your calculator and it'll spit out your answer for A. So we're going to go and do that right now. We're going to figure out what tan 31.8 is. Tan 31.8, 0.62, multiply that by 20. And I got 12.40, 12.40. So I'm going to go with 12.4. So this times this came out to 12.40 for A. Now we know our lowercase a is a distance of 12.4. We can go up here and look at our example, and if this is drawn to scale, we can use these numbers to determine if we like the answers we got, just to make sure nothing stands out as being incorrect or false. But I'm looking at it right now, I'm seeing 20A is a 12.4, C is 23.53, which is the largest side in our triangle, which is a must because we all know that the hypotenuse has to be longer than the other two sides. You can then go in and plug these into the Pythagorean theorem, see if it comes out to this. Keep in mind that we are simplifying these down when we're going and plugging these pieces of information in. We're getting decimals that go much longer than this, so we are rounding our answers. You should be close to 23.53 when you plug these two pieces of information into the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, and then you got 90, 31.8, and 58.2, which we should know that this and this and this adds up to 180. Keep in mind, we did that at the very start of the working through this problem. That's the easy part, is finding that missing angle if you are given one of the measures of an angle, specifically not the one that's 90. That's typically going to be pretty visible to find. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. This is how you break it down. You get to know all the pieces to the right triangle. And you just got to know how to use your trigonometric functions to find what's missing. So take your time on them. The more and more you practice these out, the quicker you will get. Promise you that. You're probably going to be given a homework assignment by your teachers. Do 20 of these. I highly recommend doing all 20 of them. The more and more you do, the quicker you get. You'll learn tricks along the way. And it just makes everything that you're going to be doing in your trig classes much, much easier. Hopefully this makes sense. Study hard and good luck in your upcoming test.